Sun and Moon are just around the corner, and to celebrate, Remington and I wanted to make a video.
So, we were just really excited for it. So we're like, we should think of a top 10 just before it comes out. And we kind of played around with ideas. Initially, we were going to do favorites, but it kind of morphed into, which is what it's about, which is competitive, viable competitive Pokemon.
So the way that we're going to be doing this, Remington will be tackling the singles aspect since he plays significantly more singles than I do, and I'll be tackling how these Pokemon could be viable from doubles. Some of them we definitely know will be more viable in one format versus another. Also, a couple disclaimers. First, this was recorded and written before the demo was released. So we don't have any information about stats or hidden abilities of Pokemon, meaning that we're basically just basing this off of design, moves we've seen, and any other information we got in the trailers.
Yeah, just new abilities, basically.
Mm-hmm. Also, we would like to note that the script was written before the Silvally trailer, which showed not only Silvally, but the Jangmo evolutions. So we will put those in as honorable mentions, but they will not be included in the actual list because that would mean rewriting the entire script.
Yeah, they just weren't revealed early enough. So yeah, I think that's all the disclaimers we have. I can't think.
The only other thing is really, this isn't a top 10 because, like we said, we're taking stabs in the dark.
Yeah, this is kind of like, it's kind of like a commingling between favorite and just guesstimating who's going to be good.
This is our predictions, and if we're right, then we'll probably flaunt it a bit. If not, then we'll be in the corner crying.
Yeah. And also, I guess we should say this. This is only Sun and Moon newly revealed. There will be no previous generations included.
Also, none of those Alola forms, because even though they're pretty cool and whatnot, we wanted to focus on the brand spanking new ones and not the upgraded Pokemon.
Alright, with that, I think we'll get into the video.
To kick off this video, we've got 3 potential Trick Room setters in doubles. Trick Room is an important move. Not only does it completely switch the speed priority bracket, meaning slower Pokemon move first, faster Pokemon move last, but it also helps reverse the effects of an opponent's Tailwind, or you just getting a Thunder Wave to the face. This means that identifying potential Trick Room setters is going to be very important for any VGC player to know going into this season, or any season. And Remington and I think we've found 3 that are standout Trick Room setters among the rest. Up first, Mimikyu. Mimikyu doesn't have the bulk of Cresselia, or the trapping capabilities of Gothitelle. However, Mimikyu does have one advantage over the other 2. Its ability Disguise. Disguise gives Mimikyu a free substitute, if we are reading this correctly. However, it's more than just blocking one turn of damage onto Mimikyu. Substitute also blocks moves like Taunt, Thunder Wave, Will-O-Wisp. This means that Mimikyu is essentially immune for a turn if partnered with a fake-out Pokemon like Hitmontop or Scrafty. Meaning that Mimikyu potentially has free reign to do whatever it wants that very first turn of a double battle. And that is huge. Mimikyu's probably going to get Trick Room because it looks like a slow Ghost type, and many Ghost types in addition get Trick Room. However, once that Trick Room is up, Mimikyu, as I mentioned, looks pretty slow, so it can also have free reign to inflict a few status moves like Will-O-Wisp, Thunder Wave, potentially even Spite or Encore. In addition, if it gets the moves Recover or Moonlight, that means that Mimikyu has the potential to heal itself, and if it switches, and we're again reading the ability correctly, Disguise could come back in, and we have another free Mimikyu substitute all over again. Remington, how would Mimikyu fare in singles?
All All right, so I think in singles it's going to be playing a support slash revenge kill role. If it got the move substitute, that would mean essentially on its first turn it could set up essentially a double substitute, which is pretty crazy. Meaning the next turn it can basically do whatever it wants. And if it gains access to Baton Pass or anything like that, and it has the ability to raise its stats in some way, like Swords Dance or like Cosmic Power or anything, it could be a huge Baton Passer, would be excellent. And like Raden said, the ability or the fact that it's a Ghost type usually opens up a lot of status moves, including Will-O-Wisp, T-Wave, and also it could also get Shadow Sneak, which would be very interesting due to its probably slow speed.
Finally, one other point about Mimikyu I want to mention is its typing. As a Ghost Fairy type, it has one of the best offensive and defensive typings I can possibly think of. In recent years, we've seen Fairy as an amazing offensive type, but it also has amazing properties as a defensive type, being able to safely switch into heavy-hitting Dragon types. This Ghost type onto the Fairy type gives Mimikyu 3 abilities to switch, or 3 types to switch into, which makes this Pokemon an amazingly intense threat.
Next up, we have everybody's favorite Smogon bird, Talonflame's counter Bruxish. With its new Dazzling ability, it prevents opponents from using priority moves that normally strike first. And this is huge with the presence of Fake Out in the metagame. In addition, if we're reading it right, it'll be able to negate Talonflame's Brave Bird is the move, Gale Wings ability. And Prankster, which is just huge because everybody loves Prankster. Let's be real; it's just such a great ability, unless you're on the receiving end. But in singles, I could definitely see this being a priority blocker. Maybe like you see a Liper or something. You know, you're like, oh, it's definitely gonna Fake Out. Then you can just switch it in, get a free switch in, and then just go about your merry way. Other than that, I don't really see Bruxish as being a huge offensive threat, but it's always interesting to have that like gimmicky Pokemon that could totally turn the tide of the battle.
Well, to add on to that, Bruxish would be amazing if this was a built-in Quick Guard, which does basically the same thing that Remington mentioned, blocking not only regular priority moves, but those increased in priority by Prankster and Gale Wings. However, Quick Guard also means that if we're reading this correct, and we're praying as well, we're hoping, I guess, that it also would allow Bruxish to block priority moves onto teammates. That may be a bit broken, but other than that, I don't see much use for Bruxish. Except for another Trick Room Setter. With the ability to block priority moves, that means that this sucker can't be faked out. And all you have to do is Fake Out / knock out the Taunter, which currently is not that hard to do. We haven't found a lot of real bulky Taunters, and a lot of them also don't have inner focus, except like Crobat. This means that Bruxish definitely has the potential to be a good Trick Room Setter, if not a great one. And I'll admit, that design, that is such a flamboyant design, and I love it. Up next, we have our Lord and Savior Harambe.
Do not start the meme wars on the channel.
Oh, I read that wrong. Oranguru. So Oranguru is the final Trick Room Setter that we have laid out. And boy, does it have so many good uses for Trick Room. Now, Oranguru in doubles is definitely going to be a Pokemon you have to watch out for. It has 2 very solid abilities in Inner Focus and Telepathy, meaning it either can't be flinched or you can't hit it with your own Earthquake, both of which are phenomenal abilities. However, where Oranguru really shines is its move Instruct, where it targets your Pokemon and makes it use the last move it used. This could lead to potentially dangerous payoff. While we've ruled out the possibility of a double Kangaskhan double power-up punch, thank you for no megas, we do have the possibility now of other moves being there, such as a double Spherical Dark Void! Yay! Just kidding, that's awful.
Oh no. Oh no.
However, Oranguru does have some issues with Instruct. There are two that I potentially see. The first is if Instruct is a -1 priority move, that means that it's going to have to eat a few attacks before it gets to use Instruct. This may not be much of a big deal because Oranguru looks like it'll be pretty bulky, but it does have me concerned. Also, Instruct would be way better if it was a -1 priority. However, I doubt the game developers want it to be that broken, so it's probably a neutral priority move, in which case Trick Room is a necessity on Oranguru. This is because if your opponent gets up a Trick Room, Oranguru might be left high and dry to not help its ally with the move it needs. I.e., say you have a Landorus out on the field, and it's going to use Earthquake. However, your opponent just switched into a flying type and, for whatever reason, also has your Landorus locked in. You may not be able to use Earthquake, for whatever reason, or may not want to use Earthquake, but you may want to use a different move. However, your Oranguru will be faster, so when Instruct fires off, your Landorus will use Earthquake. Not exactly the best use for your lovely Instruct, which is why Oranguru needs Trick Room, because then it can reverse the Trick Room. Or if Oranguru is going to go down itself, it can get a Trick Room up just to mess with the opponent. Oranguru probably will be a lot better in doubles than in singles, but here's Remington with the singles perspective.
Alright, so obviously telepathy ain't gonna do jack squat in singles, so yeah, go with the inner focus ability. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be pretty bulky, I'm guessing defensively, but you know, I've been surprised before. And it also looks like it'll be a pretty decent attacker, so moves like Drain Punch will help with recovery, because, you know, it's always nice to have Drain Punch. Zen Headbutt for, you know, just that nice stab and, you know, like, maybe Return Facade, you know. It's always nice to have just high-hitting normal type moves. But yeah, also Trick Room is, I know we've been stressing it heavily in doubles, but Trick Room can also be really good in singles as well if you have your team centered around it. So if it can set up that Trick Room, it'll be really, really helpful for your team. However, I don't think Instruct is going to be able to do that much in singles. I can't really think of any reason why it should. I don't know, maybe you...
To give your opponent justice.
Yeah, you just, like, I don't know, give it to do this weird status move twice. I don't know, but definitely more use in doubles. But yeah, that's all I got for Oranguru. And also, shout out to the memester who made the meme, why isn't my ability bulletproof for Oranguru?
Why isn't my ability bulletproof?
I said isn't, but oh well. Yeah, that made me and Raden crack up a bit. That was really, really funny. So,
justice for Oranguru. Oranguru was the last of the Trick Room setters. So we're kind of taking a break real quick and moving to a faster Pokemon. This one will probably not be as good in doubles as it will in singles. So here's Remington tackling my personal favorite new Pokemon so far, Salandit.
Alright, so with this new corrosion ability, it becomes possible to inflict poison status conditions even on steel and poison type Pokemon. I wish, just for the sake of being super overpowered, that it would have been able to damage them too, but that's, you know, we don't need it that broken. But anyway, what I see Salandit is being as a nice focus sash sweeper, and just having a focus sash to maybe set up something. But I hope this corrosion ability will translate to toxic spikes, being able to inflict those. That would be really, really cool. We haven't gotten that confirmed yet, but that'd be awesome. So in terms of other moves, Venoshock obviously to take advantage of that, you know, poisoning that's happening, and maybe like Fire Blast or Flare Blitz. It's hard to tell which I guess attacker it'll be, but either way, it should be pretty decent with that ability to get poison on every single Pokemon that we know of. So yeah, now with on to Raden with the doubles.
While Poison is nowhere near as good of a status element in doubles as it is in singles, mostly due to the fact that doubles games are faster than singles, so Poison doesn't really have the time to do damage, and Poison doesn't really inflict a secondary effect such as Burn halving attack or Paralysis nuking someone's speed. I still think Salandit has the potential to be pretty good in doubles. I think it can definitely set up a few Toxics or Will-O-Wisps on opponents. And with the move Venoshock, which is probably going to be a must-have on this Pokemon, I think it could deal decent damage to most any Pokemon. I think its best ally is going to be a Pokemon like Mega Gengar, or Gengar, because we won't have Mega Gengar in VGC 17, that also can learn Hex. Even better would probably be something like Cofagrigus, which is naturally bulky, and in addition learns Hex, meaning that it can capitalize on the fact that it has a poisoned opponent and can deal plenty of damage. And by the way, Salandit, even if you won't be good in doubles, you're still my favorite Gen 7 Pokemon so far. In keeping with the theme of faster Pokemon, up next is Oricorio. This Pokemon definitely has a lot of potential in all 4 of its forms, though I'm mostly going to be showing images of the Sensu form because it's a Ghost type, and Ghost is my favorite type. Or whatever Remington decides he's going to put on screen, I don't really care. They're going to all be playing pretty similar. Oricorio's Dancer ability is where it's really going to shine. Basically, if a Pokemon uses a move like Swords Dance or Dragon Dance while Oricorio is out on the field, it gets to copy that. There's only one thing that Oricorio needs to be utterly destructive. Remington, do you want to take over what that move is? Because it's the same in singles and doubles.
Alright, so this Pokemon, if it could get it, I think would be an excellent baton passer. So, yeah, with that ability, Dancer, any dance move can just basically use in Oricorio's favor. And while I think this might be a little bit better in singles because you can't double target that, it'll still be very, very helpful in doubles. It's hard to tell whether this will be physical or special, but it can probably have like the same normal flying type moves like maybe Brave Bird or Air Slash. Also Revelation Dance, just put that on there because it seems like a cool move. And also a lot of flying types like to have the move U-turn, just get out of there right quick. But it should be a pretty interesting Pokemon with all its forms.
I definitely see Oricorio as a big threat in singles, but in doubles, it could be a nice surprise to get those people who think they're going to be creative with the Dragon Dance. A nice surprise and a bit of a run for their money. Because let's face it, Garchomp's there. No one wants to see a Garchomp at +1 speed and attack. Hey Rem, I've got a trivia question for you.
Alrighty, Ray, give it to me.
Which Pokemon won Worlds in 2011 and 2013 and was in the top cut in those years mentioned, as well as 2014 and 2015? It's a fighting type.
Okay. What was the first year it was in?
2011, Black and White. Univadex only.
Conkeldurr.
That's right, Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr has been a strong Pokemon ever since its introduction. And even when it didn't have Fighting Gem in Generation 6, Conkeldurr was still a prominent threat in VGC, simply because it's just a good Pokemon. However, there's a Pokemon in Sun and Moon that looks like it'll be Conkeldurr 2.0. Everyone, you should really fear this Pokemon. It's Beware.
Oh my goodness. I did not approve that pun.
I did.
Well, yeah, because you said it.
All puns aside, I really do think Beware is going to be a really good Pokemon and a really good Conkeldurr 2.0. The normal fighting typing is an awesome offensive combination. It gives great coverage across all the types with the exception of Ghost. And it also gives Beware the diverse move pool of a normal type with the raw power of a fighting type. However, Beware has one other key advantage above others. Its ability, Fluffy!
Oh, wow, I've never heard you make that voice.
It's from Yoshi, I think.
Oh, that makes sense.
For those who couldn't translate Raden, I said Fluffy. Fluffy halves the damage from contact moves, i.e. getting punched in the face, but in exchange gives it essentially a weakness to fire moves. However, there's a way to mitigate this second weakness, and that's with the help of one move, Assault Vest. I'm going to let Remington take over the rest of the segment since Beware is going to play almost identically in both singles and doubles, just like how Conkeldurr works.
Alright, so of course you're going to want to run the Klutz variety because, gotta love that. Alright, anyway, just a little bit different thing. In singles, probably Curse will get a lot more use than in doubles, but yeah, it's going to be pretty similar in singles and doubles. As we said, it's a Conkeldurr 2.0, so it's probably going to have a pretty similar, moveset with, Drain Punch, Mach Punch, maybe, an Elemental Punch or two. But it also has a normal type, so it could gain access to, Double Edge or Return, so that could be really interesting.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, Beware is going to play almost identical in doubles. The only things that I would add is that Beware probably should get the moves Knockoff and Ice Punch. Knockoff just because it's going to need something to deal with ghost types, otherwise it is hosed. And Ice Punch because Ice Punch.
Because Dragon grounds.
And flying.
And Dragon flies, yes.
Alright. On to whatever is next.
Alright, well we're on the topic of memes. We're gonna build a wall.
We're gonna build a big, fat, beautiful wall between...
around the Gumshoos and make it the prized possession of the VGCs. Alright, so...
yeah, we're talking about Gumshoos. Here's Remington with the singles perspective.
Alrighty, Ray. So this could be awesome, and I'm talking about, top 10 Pokemon in singles if this ability is what we think it is. With the ability Stakeout, from what I understand, if a Pokemon switches out, the Pokemon that switches in takes double the damage. So it's essentially like getting a pursuit all the time. And that is just crazy. That just blows my mind. I hope it's true because this would make it, I think, probably the most relevant normal type Pokemon that I can really think of in singles right now.
Kangaskhan.
Well, okay, no Mega anymore, so not relevant. Anyway, so, it also has the ability Strongjaw, which I don't know why you would run it with the just ridiculously awesome ability Stakeout, but, to each his own, I guess. It could have moves like Crunch, Return, Double Edge if you want that little extra oomph in your attacks. And it's a normal type, so usually you will have really, really good variety in the type of its attacks. Also, special note, maybe it'll have Frustration because it is the Donald Trump Pokemon. But, yeah, so on to Raden.
Well, off of that, I do think Gumshoos has the potential to be pretty good in doubles as well. Stakeout is definitely going to be the prime choice of ability. However, it won't be nearly as threatening simply because you have two Pokemon to worry about as opposed to just one. Which means that Gumshoos could do with your typical Return, Double Edge, Fake Out, and the aforementioned Frustration. Trump joke. Sorry, if Trump sees this, please don't sue us.
Yeah, please don't. We have no money.
Yeah, we really don't. We don't make any money off of YouTube, but that's beside the point. Gumshoos definitely could be threatening, especially if it got a few spread moves, such as Hyper Voice, or Echoed Voice, or Round, depending on if it becomes a special attacker, or potentially moves like Rock Slide or Earthquake, which certainly do seem to be staple moves of most any good physical attacker. As for Strongjaw, I do think it's possible we could see some Strongjaw Gumshoos, simply because it might be a bit more reliable than Stakeout in doubles. Build a wall. You know, guys, we weren't really feeling sure about this segment. In fact, you could say we were a bit wishy-washy.
Again, not approved. He said it. I didn't know that was happening.
Alright. Just like Beware and Salandit, Wishiwashi will probably be just slightly better in singles than in doubles, so I'll let Remington take this one first as well.
Alright, so we know that it gets the ability Schooling, which basically calls on its other Wishiwashi friends, makes it a giant fish, which just looks cool. But, so I was thinking that this ability probably makes it a pretty, makes it, when it gets triggered, it probably has a pretty intense stat boost. So what I was thinking, this is just like a huge, oh my goodness, if this happened, that'd be so funny. If it got access to Belly Drum, then it could take it down and then trigger that Schooling ability, to which it would get the Belly Drum and the probably presumed huge stat boost from the Schooling form. And if you give it a Citrus Berry, it can recover a lot of that back. So that would just be really cool. I don't know why I just thought of that. It looks like it's probably going to be a physical attacker, but you never know. So it could get moves like Aqua Jet, Waterfall, Zen Headbutt, Earthquake, because everybody loves the Earthquake. But if it's not, maybe Hydro Pump, Psychic, Psyshock. And it looks to be kind of maybe a mixed sweeper or just a tank, because when it gets to be that Wishiwashi Schooling form, just gets really big. So now on to doubles with Raden.
One word: Gyarados. I see Wishiwashi as being a new Gyarados, similar to how Beware is a Conkeldurr 2.0. I think Wishiwashi could easily be a Gyarados or Milotic 2.0. I think it definitely has the potential to have a lot of natural bulk. I don't really know where it would shine in doubles, considering that it could easily be fast in its base form and then really slow in its schooled form, which means that it could potentially work in or out of Trick Room. But I certainly feel that there is the possibility for Wishiwashi to do some big damage in doubles and make your opponents really unsure of themselves. Okay, that one didn't react. No one reacts to my Wishiwashi puns anymore. I'm sad. We're moving on. Okay, guys, I promise I won't start any more segments with a pun.
But I do not. I am the Tortunator.
Okay, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know. Raden made the joke off screen and just had to re-record it and say that. I don't know.
We literally are re-recording this segment just because Tortunator joke.
Yeah, no, it was so good. Well, I guess I'll talk about singles because that's what we did last time. So
okay.
Yeah. So its signature move, Shell Trap, which will be very, very interesting in singles. It works kind of like a powder, where if you get hit by, I believe it's a physical type move. I will put a note on if it's not. Then the opponent gets hit with a massive recoil, and that's not just fire type moves with powder, by the way. But it should be a really interesting move in singles. In addition, it seems like it could be pretty tanky Pokemon, so having moves like Toxic or Protect if you don't want to run Shell Trap could be pretty interesting. In addition, the Fire Dragon usually means it's a decent offense. It'll probably be decent offensive, so moves like Dragon Pulse or Fire Blast seem pretty interesting. With its ability Shell Armor, it's not the best ability it could have gotten, but still, getting protected from critical hits is always really, really nice. So I guess on to Raden.
Well, Shell Trap or Shell Armor definitely isn't the best ability in doubles. However, I still think Tortunator still has the potential to do well in Trick Room. I know I've mentioned Trick Room a ton this video. One Pokemon I did forget to mention it for was Beware, but that doesn't really matter at this point. But Trick Room, I cannot stress enough, Trick Room is such a good move in doubles. You have no idea how good it is in doubles. But Tortunator really could be a strong fire type in Trick Room it could work similar to how Camerupt was in 2015. Just give a nice explosive eruption. The first turn it can do damage and just hit everything, and then just completely wreck with whatever other moves it has. Shell Trap, if you predict right, it could be like Aegis / King Shield, and you just get wrecked in the face with Shell Trap damage, and you get to be like, ha 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 ha, sucker. Alright. 9 down, 1 to go. To end off this list, and I know it's been so short, but we have Crabrawler, first revealed at Worlds, and boy, have I looked forward to seeing this Pokemon hit the field ever since it was revealed. We saw Crabrawler knock out the following Pokemon in the trailer. Not sure if it was Okos or what, but this thing definitely looks powerful. It knocked out Landorus, Kangaskhan, Cresselia, Smeargle, Talonflame, and probably something else that I'm currently forgetting. Crabrawler is probably going to be built almost exactly like a boxer. Very high attack, potentially high speed. I can kind of see Crabrawler being a bit fast. I can also see it being a bit more heavyweight and being slow. But it's not going to have much in the staying power of defense, because you know what they say, the best offense is the best defense. However, Crabrawler has 2 pretty good abilities, and based on what we saw, it was too good of a Pokemon to pass up. We saw a close combat Crabhammer and Knockoff in the trailer. However, I certainly feel that Crabrawler would do well with Drain Punch, Mach Punch, the Elemental Punches, possibly Sucker Punch as well. There's a lot of punch moves that I think Crabrawler needs. I think Crabrawler, if it's fast, could do well on a Tailwind team. If it's slow, could do well on a Trick Room team. Probably needs a Focus Sash and Protect to make sure it has some staying power. But once it's got that speed in its favor, that thing is just going to be tearing up the field and eating Smeargles for breakfast. Remington, on to singles.
Well, not really on the singles, because I think you covered everything I wanted to say. I mean, I think they're going to pretty much work the exact same way that you just said in singles. I think it'll be also a lot like a Conkeldurr. Just gotta love that Iron Fist ability. Hyper Cutter, always nice to nerf that Intimidate, which also kind of brings me a kind of bit off onto a tangent. I wonder when we're going to get a special version of Intimidate. Do you think it'll be this year?
Maybe. That would be certainly a nice surprise to see. But anyways, that's Crabrawler, and that's our list. Thank you guys so much for watching. As your reward for sticking around to the end, you get a little bonus feature. Remington and I are now going to predict of our list which ones we think are the best Pokemons we've designed. All right. On the count of 3.
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3. Mimikyu.
Oh my. We thought the same. Yeah.
Wait, Mimikyu?
Yeah.
Well, Mimikyu, the world needs you.
Yeah, you know what? It just seems like it's going to be a great Pokemon. I can't wait to use it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, day we get Sun and Moon on Showdown, I think Remington and we're definitely going to do some sort of battle on there for you guys. So, if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe to make sure you get our notifications when videos are coming out. Sorry for kind of slow uploads lately. We have been crawling slowly out of the depths of mounds of college applications.
Yeah, college. Woo! Gonna be fun.
Hopefully, once winter break hits and senior year starts slowing down, we can start doing a lot more videos for you guys.
Yeah, hopefully weekly. That'd be, or maybe even more, because second semester senior year are gonna be pretty awesome.
Yep. So make sure you stay tuned. Let us know what you think the best Pokemon in Sun and Moon are going to be. We didn't mention them directly, but we certainly feel that Silvally and kommo-o are going to be potential threats to watch out for in both formats. And anything you want to add on before closing out, Rem?
No, I'm just really excited for that demo coming up pretty soon. Can't wait to see what they'll do with that. And yeah, just can't wait for Sun and Moon. I love new games.
Yep. All right. See you guys next time.
See you next time, everybody.